From rapid digitization to remote auditing, this morning, we're going to talk about how the auditing industry is reimagining its work and the way it gets things done. Joining us live, Jessie Carpio of P&A Grant Thornton. Jessie, great morning to have you on the show.
Good morning, Mimi. Thank you for having me.
Okay, so I guess let's start with this. How has the pandemic accelerated the evolution of auditing towards a more virtual audit? You know, is a virtual audit, is remote audit as good as the old-fashioned physical audits, or do admit that, you know, something will fall through the cracks?
Well, you know, with the traditional audit, as you describe it, is that us, external auditors, usually go to the client's office, do the examination there, right? Look at the documents, meet the client, discuss the issues there. And, you know, basically everything is done at the client's office. With the pandemic, it has accelerated the online auditing. No? Basically, it's a remote auditing. And now external auditors will have to do, you know, the work from the planning to the execution of the work to the conclusion and reporting, all online now. And what it means is that the external auditors should have IT-enabled audit methodology. That's very important because, you know, you are now working as a team. It can happen that a partner is working in Metro Manila, your manager is in Pampanga, you know, your in charge is in Visayas, that is in Batangas. So that can happen. And without an IT-enabled methodology, audit methodology, then that remote audit won't be possible. That's number one, and that's very critical. Number two is actually more about working closely together, even you are apart. And that means you have to collaborate more. You have to work together with the client. You have to have a system. Like in our case, we have a dashboard, Teams dashboard, where, you know, we work with the client in that dashboard. We do video calls to discuss the issues because, of course, we don't want surprises at the end, and work with them. But I guess the other subcontext in your question, Mimi, is that how do you that the audit is still done? There's a quality in audit because at the end of the day, the financial statements is a statement of trust. No? It's a document that is trusted by the bankers, by the regulators, and by other third parties, right? So in auditing, there is, as far as audit evidences are concerned, there has to be an issue of sufficiency of audit evidence and appropriateness. And basically, when you say sufficiency, you are talking about the quantity of audit evidence. In an auditing world, I mean, let me explain this very simply. I hope I can explain this very simply. In auditing, there is a process, of course, of determining the sample size. And the standard will tell you how many samples you should get out of a certain universe, right? So, for example, the standard will tell you to get, say, 20 samples. Even in an online audit, you should not say, I will be happy with 15 or 10.
You still have to follow.
You still have to follow that.
Yeah.
So your sample has still to be enough for you to express your opinion. On the other hand, the other issue is the appropriateness, which is more on the quality side of the audit evidence. And this is where you have to really work with the client, because For example, there is a big contract, and in the olden days, you can look at the contract, you can physically you can see it, right?
Yes.
Now,
Jessie, just a quick question. You mentioned about evidence, that you need enough evidence. Right. What new technologies or innovations are auditors using today to collect the evidence? Right. Are you into drones to do physical inventory checking? I imagine you are using machine learning and big data to crunch the numbers, video calls, as well as you mentioned. The documents, for example, you're dependent on documents from clients. Are they even digitized, or are they still in black and white paper?
Not at this time. Well, aside from analytics, which crunches the numbers and you look at the reasonableness. When it comes to documents, primarily these are still sent over the internet.
Okay.
And looked at by the auditor. By the way, a remote audit doesn't necessarily mean that it's purely online. It can be a hybrid in the sense that some companies doesn't actually want to send their document online because it's highly confidential or it's too voluminous, in which case the auditors will make an arrangement for them to visit the client's office, and there will be an on-premise audit.
Okay.
But unlike before, where you can go anytime, this time it has to be arranged because of the health and safety protocols. Basically.
Limited exposures there.
Yep.
Jessie, I'm very curious, what about the smaller companies? There's a fresh push from the PSC or the SEC to get MSMEs into the capital markets. And to be part of the capital markets, they need to be audited. What role do you see auditors play to make the markets more inclusive? And would you say that 99.9% of our establishments are MSMEs? That's majority of the businesses here. Right. Would you say they're more or less ready to be audited to become part of the capital markets, or where are we? Where are they?
Right. One of the things that when you go into a capital market, it's a decision that has to be thought through by the owners of the business. Because, as in any transaction, there are, of course, pros and cons, right? Advantages and disadvantages. No? So the management of the company, especially the owners of MSMEs, has to make an assessment whether they are ready to be going public. Because if you go public, that means you have to have a board. Your corporate governance has to be there. That's number one. Your funds has to be very efficient because there is you have to prove there has to be a very good storyline, right? When you go IPO, and you have to ensure that those investors will be getting the return, and there must be a very good profit along the way, right? And then the other one is financial reporting. And this is very critical because, as you know, many entrepreneurs are very aggressive. Sometimes they go into ventures, and the financial reporting side is the one that's trying to catch up. When you go IPO, that's where you should have, effective internal controls. That's where you should have the financial reports. You should have a good CFO. Because be under, closer scrutiny, there's accountability, more reporting. So the regulators will be checking on you closer than when you are not on IPO, when you're not a listed or regulated entity. So those are the things. If your question is are the MSMEs are ready? Some are. We have many companies that really have good corporate governance in place.
Yeah.
And they have proper reporting systems.
Jessie,
the others are catching up.
That's good to know that they're catching up.
Yeah.
Jessie, we don't have much time. Final question. EdTech, education technology. With all of these changes in the way audits are done, technologically speaking, the changes in setup, how narrow or wide is the skills gap? I know that you guys are offering EdTech to train professionals, to train, auditors, even in-house auditors of businesses. And is there a fear or worry that this would eventually cannibalize your own business?
No, actually, as external auditors, as professional business advisors, actually, we actually want to help as many as we can in terms of making sure that the records are properly done. Compliance with regulators is greater, because it's actually in the interest of external auditors like ourselves for the businesses to be, compliance, and there is greater trust on the business. So it's not actually contrary to our business. In fact, it helps our business. That's why we look at it more as an addition to the business community.
Okay. And this EdTech program that you're offering, is this for free, or is this something that their company has to pay for?
We do have a mix. We have webinars that are free, especially if there are new regulations coming out. And we wanted our clients and friends and business community to know about these new regulations and new developments. We normally offer it for free, especially this time.
Okay. On that note, Jessie, thank you so much for joining us this morning. Stay safe. Hope to see you soon, sir.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.